What was the young man's name, Ned? You're Mr. Quincy now. Gene and I had the pleasure of collaborating on 2 movies, Under Suspicion and Unforgiven. At the age of 87, Morgan Freeman shocked Hollywood by speaking out about Gene Hackman. It was not a straightforward speech, rather, it contained information that had never been made public before, as well as a significant revelation about his lifelong acquaintance. The deaths of Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife, whose remains were discovered, are shrouded in mystery. A new surge of attention has been generated by Freeman's rare statement, even though the world was still in shock by the bizarre deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife. In addition to paying homage, Freeman's sharing revealed a wealth of little-known facts about one of Hollywood's most admired actors, and now it's all becoming clear. Along with his wife Betsy Arakawa and one of their 3 dogs, Gene Hackman was discovered dead in his Santa Fe, New Mexico home. The fact that everyone in the house, including the dog, is dead is alarming. The hands and feet of both bodies were desiccated, indicating decomposition. 2 of the dogs were still alive in the house, but one passed away close to Betsy's body. Front door was left ajar, according to details from the scene, and maintenance personnel repeatedly knocked on it, but no one answered. The strange state was discovered inside when the police came and peered through the window. Gene Hackman was discovered in the foyer, laying still. A heater was turned on close to Betsy's head as she lay in the restroom, tilting to one side. A number of tablets and an open prescription bottle were on the floor next to her body. Gene Hackman's heart ceased beating around 9 days prior to his body being found, according to data from his cardiac monitor. This data corresponded to the degree of decomposition of the body. Long-time neighbors have observed a significant shift in the couple's routine in recent months. There was no longer Gene Hackman in the yard. Additionally, he stopped riding his bike around the neighborhood, which he used to love. His neighbors attested to the fact that he had turned into a total recluse who rarely left the house. Betsy made an effort to maintain Gene's routine. According to a family acquaintance, they solve puzzles together during the day and do online yoga every morning. Gene Hackman's relatives and friends were not surprised by his health issues. He had to use a life support system after undergoing extensive heart treatment while he was well. He received brief but stern advice from the doctor during a checkup: cease all stressful activities. In addition to his cardiac ailment, he suffered injuries in a bicycle-related traffic accident. Following the tragedy, he started to spend more time home with his wife and cut back on all outdoor activities. In addition to a number of concerning health issues, Gene Hackman's death was one of the most prominent incidents in the entertainment business that year because of how quickly both men passed away and how their bodies weren't found until almost 10 days later. No one could be as real as Gan on screen or in life, declared Gene Hackman's longtime friend Morgan Freeman after years of silence. Freeman said, "I was scared of him when we were doing the same scene. That one line alone sent shivers down my spine. He never played a role. He was the role." Gene did not have to yell. You could tell the emotion was genuine just by the way he looked. In addition to the evident medical symptoms, it played a significant role in his life. After Morgan Freeman formally spoke out, the public took notice of his unique partnership and strong personal friendship with Freeman. The partnership with Freeman Hackman that revolutionized on-screen presence. Throughout their careers, Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman have shared a lot of similarities, but their shared screen time is the most evident link between them. They have a working relationship that goes beyond simple cooperation. It is based on mutual respect, trust, and a unique chemistry between 2 powerful personalities in the movie business. Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven is the most remarkable collaboration between Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman. Freeman portrayed the protagonist's longtime friend, while Hackman portrayed a vicious sheriff. There was a well-known and emotionally charged incident between the two. Freeman acknowledged that he was quite uncomfortable when Hackman's character had to discipline Freeman's character. After the movie came out, Freeman said, "I'm going to hurt you not gently, but really hard," and I believed it, as he murmured in my ear. Their initiative and implicit understanding are what distinguish their working relationship. Long conversations and a lot of practices are not necessary. The two naturally establish a rhythm as the cameras begin to film, despite their different styles. Freeman is typically calm and perceptive, whereas Hackman tends to put pressure on the set to maintain a serious pace. However, Their disparate methods work in perfect harmony to create stunning situations. Unforgiven represented a significant turning point in both of their careers and won multiple major prizes. Hackman won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal, and Freeman was well known for his part. The picture of the two seasoned actors sharing the screen has since come to represent their best working relationship. Hackman and Freeman collaborated on Under Suspicion 4 years later. This time they portrayed rival characters, a suspect lawyer and an investigator looking to implicate him. The two performers must keep a steady psychological pace throughout the film's nearly non-stop tense discourse, which takes place without the aid of action or a lavish location. Morgan Freeman once said of Hackman, "I learned a lot just by watching him work. Gan always knew exactly when to turn up the pressure and when to hold back. He didn't have to say much to get people's attention." This is true even though the film didn't resonate with the same level as Unforgiven. Hackman and Freeman's performances were still highly praised by critics. Despite only collaborating on 2 significant motion pictures, Morgan Freeman is obviously influenced by Gene Hackman. They are not the kind of pals who frequently hang out together in real life. However, they exhibit a close bond when they are together in front of the camera. In order to avoid being overshadowed, Freeman has stated that Hackman is one of the few performers that pushes him to develop his acting abilities. This results in performances that are deep and full of energy. Their shared experiences in the field also contribute to their closeness. Both Hackman and Freeman had theater training, were underappreciated in their early careers, and prefer to avoid the public and media when they are not working. When creating films, they were able to find common ground because to their shared beliefs. Morgan Freeman has never contested Hackman's significance and impact on himself, despite the fact that he left the entertainment business quite early. Instead of being merely a typical memorial, Freeman's decision to come out at the time of Gene Hackman's passing is viewed as a profound expression of respect. Freeman alluded to Hackman as a career role model even in his latter years, when he was no longer performing. Freeman's remarks following Hackman's death were not only heartfelt, they also served to highlight the priceless times they had spent together during their careers. It is important to reflect on Hackman's rise in the film industry, where he consistently upheld his own ideals and refused to compromise, in order to comprehend why those words of thanks had so many levels of meaning. Hackman's unyielding nature and beginning conflicts. Dealing with Gene Hackman is not simple. He is quite demanding, direct, and constantly expects the utmost focus from everyone around him, according to numerous directors and actors who have collaborated with him. Although this method of working makes the movie more efficient, it also leads to a lot of disputes on the set. While the Royal Tenenbaums were being filmed, one of the most well-known battles took place. Wes Anderson directed, and Gene Hackman portrayed the lead role. Hackman, who tended to respond emotionally and liked to handle things intuitively, did not enjoy Anderson's meticulous, methodical, and fairly silent filmmaking technique. Hackman screamed at the director several times while the movie was being filmed. Without hesitation, he voiced his disapproval of Anderson's work in front of the entire crew. Tensions between Hackman and the director remained throughout the project, according to several cast members. Gene is a great actor, but he doesn't take kindly to the way younger people work. I had to step in a few times to keep things from getting out of hand. Nevertheless, the final result still makes one thing clear. Bill Murray, who also starred in the movie, defended Anderson when things got heated, later saying, "But the conflicts that occurred during filming Hackman's performance in the film was still highly appreciated." His performance was a major factor in the movie's success, demonstrating his professionalism but also his internal conflicts. The conflict between Hackman and director Stanley Kramer over the domino principle has also been brought up, as the two disagreed on how to approach character and narrative throughout the film's production. Hackman, who has not publicly discussed the specifics of the confrontation, has acknowledged that this was one of the most frustrating projects of his career, and he disagreed with Kramer's direction of the scenes, finding the pacing too unrealistic and laborious. In addition to the stress of his work, Hackman was involved in a high-profile real-life incident. Many have criticized Gene Hackman's work style as being strict and unapproachable. In Los Angeles, Hackman was walking with his wife when a man he knew approached him and asked for help. When Hackman refused, the man began yelling and making threats, and after the man insulted his wife, Hackman punched back. Police later arrived and confirmed that he acted in self-defense, so no legal action was taken. Because Hackman is very demanding of both himself and the people he works with, some young actors claimed they felt a lot of pressure when sharing a scene with him. At one point, he refused to repeat a scene because a co-star didn't fully understand the lines, forcing the entire crew to pause so the other person could start over from the beginning. For those who have the talent and patience, working with Hackman is a great learning experience. However, some in the industry respect his candor, saying that Hackman sets the standard for acting in his projects and forces others to be more serious and meticulous. Behind the pressure he placed on others, there was a difficult life with numerous personal burdens that few people were aware of. Behind the fame, Gene Hackman was known for his lack of publicity and his distance from the limelight. Even at the height of his career, he avoided press conferences, media events, and promotional activities. These were most evidently displayed during difficult financial times and a sense of disgust with the entertainment industry to which he had been attached for the majority of his life. To those who knew him personally, it was his way of shielding himself from the things that made him feel uneasy in the entertainment industry. Hackman once said that he loved acting but detested the rest of his job, saying that he was exhausted from having to wear makeup, take pictures, answer interviews, and meet producers. His financial troubles have been a constant source of stress for him. At a time when his career was stable, Hackman encountered a series of difficulties due to poor investment decisions. This is the reason he frequently withdrew from activities after each film and did not participate in many public events, despite the fact that his roles were always highly appreciated. He wasn't a squanderer, but his real estate and personal projects didn't pay off, so he had to find other ways to keep his finances stable, like borrowing cars from family members to get around between projects. Hackman never used money as a reason to take jobs that weren't a good fit. However, the long-term financial strain still had a significant effect, making Gene Hackman much more selective about his work and lifestyle, and he eventually lost faith in the film industry's working environment. On the contrary, he turned down a number of major projects because he believed the script was not worth going back to. His decision to leave the industry was not a singular event, but rather the culmination of years of cumulative exhaustion, and he frequently felt suffocated by the pressure to maintain a personal image, cultivate social relationships, or present himself to the public in a way that he did not feel was truly himself. During his retirement, Hackman moved to a quiet area, began writing books, watched movies with his wife, and led a simple life, but he did not hold any press conferences or provide a long explanation, simply stating that he had done what he had to do and felt that he was no longer suited to the high-pressure work environment he had been in before. Even though he was invited to return to the screen, he declined, which further demonstrates that retirement was a personal decision rather than a temporary break or something he was forced to do. However, the distance he created made the few statements from people close to him more significant than ever, particularly from Morgan Freeman, a longtime friend, a colleague who shared many significant moments on screen, and the only person who openly expressed his true feelings following Hackman's departure. In a formal ceremony at the 97th Academy Awards in March 2025, Morgan Freeman gave a farewell that was more painful than anticipated. This was the first time Freeman had ever publicly discussed his friend, who had been with him on set after Hackman's untimely death only a few weeks prior. Clearly containing the respect and genuine feelings of someone who knew Hackman better than many in the industry, the speech was well prepared, succinct, and short. Freeman started by describing Gene Hackman as an irreplaceable icon, saying that Hackman is more than just skilled at his job. Freeman describes his personal experience working with Hackman is what makes his speech unique. He doesn't tell many stories, doesn't mince words, and gets right to what impressed him most. Hackman is not someone who plays a role, but someone who fully enters each character, holding nothing back. He makes every role so real that you forget it's just a movie. Freeman talks about Hackman's character and work ethic, describing Hackman as hard but honest, someone who says the right thing at the right time, and not overly pretentious. I thought I'd seen everything an actor could do until I saw Gene walk into a scene with no preparation, no audition, just stand there and become the character. It all happened in seconds, and I'd never seen anyone do that. Those who have worked with Hackman know that he doesn't try to be friendly to win people over. He just focuses on the work and lets the results speak for him. Freeman says this leads to Hackman being misunderstood, but those who are patient enough will see the kindness and dedication behind that stern exterior. Freeman also took time to address Hackman's absence over the years. Gene took a different route than most people in this industry, but that doesn't make him any less significant. In fact, I realized how much he was missing when he wasn't around. He emphasized that Hackman didn't disappear because he wanted to keep the rest of his life to himself, not because he wanted to avoid people. Thank you, Gene, for the years you brought to the screen, for setting the bar so high that the rest of us were forced to strive, and for being my friend in the way you thought was right. Freeman, who never minced words, ended his sharing with a direct thank you. The speech was not scheduled as part of the official program schedule. Freeman had never spoken publicly about Hackman before, even when they had appeared together at film premieres. There was no lengthy tribute, no collage of pictures from years of his career, just one man standing up and speaking succinctly and firmly about a man he truly respected. The words were not intended to be overly complimentary, they were just a slice of truth that only those who were present would understand. Morgan Freeman's remarks after the death of Gene Hackman are not only a tribute to a longtime colleague, but also a heartfelt summary of a man who dedicated his life to pursuing professional integrity. That silence persisted for many years until Hackman passed away, so when Freeman decided to say these things, each sentence carried many times more weight. The story above is not only a remembrance of a legend, but also a genuine glimpse of the man behind the fame, principled, strong, and always true to his nature. Freeman not only speaks of a great actor, but he also subtly reveals aspects of Hackman's life that he rarely shared with the public. Gene Hackman has been out of the spotlight for a long time, but what he left behind is still valuable. Please leave a comment below if you were moved by any of Gene Hackman's roles or just how you felt after watching this video. Thank you for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you find the information in it meaningful so you don't miss the next stories about the faces that made cinema history.